Friends, swellheads, this is an alert. NATO is mulling a preemptive strike on Russia. Let me repeat that for those that are just joining. NATO mulls a preemptive strike on Russia. Just when you thought things couldn't get any nuttier, any crazier, well, here we go. We're going to get straight in the news. We're going to try to cover this in a hurry because I got to get up real early in the morning. This is kind of a hit on me, but I just have to come in here and show you guys what's cooking because it's just getting unreal fast. Um, it's just going crazy over there. NATO warns it may hit Russia first as hybrid attacks intensify. And here's a Ukrainian press talking about this chair of NATO military campaign, WWIII Kavo Dragon. Yeah, this is a NATO guy, not a Ukraine guy. It's right there. WWIII Kavo Dragon. I guess that's short for dragon. So basically, NATO is considering proactive measures in response to this escalating hybrid warfare from Russia, the drones, the fighter planes, and everything that's going on. So the steps that could extend to what officials describe as a potential preemptive strike on Russian targets. Yeah, he says they're studying everything on cyber, and we are kind of reactive as if something is going to happen. What? Being more aggressive or being more proactive instead of reactive. I guess that means you won't wait and react to them doing something. You're just going to reach out and do it. Reach out and touch someone. Well, that's not the way we want to hear that. Dragon added that a preemptive strike could, under certain circumstances, be classified as a defensive action. So if we hit you right now, this may be a defensive action. Being more aggressive compared with the aggressiveness of our counterpart would be an option, being more aggressive. I mean, not just flying drones and planes in, doing something. I'm going to use the word strike. He used the word strike. Yikes. If all we continue to do is be reactive, we just invite Russia to keep trying and keep hurting us. Well, they're not hurting you yet. I mean, they are kind of threatening you. They're making you uncomfortable. But hybrid warfare is asymmetric. It costs them little and costs us a lot. We need to be more inventive. What is he talking about? Even if he isn't planning a military strike on Russia, you can see where this could escalate. So, yeah. And of course, last week, Emmanuel Macron was talking about restoring voluntary military service. We're also talking about conscription. Remember, their general, the French general, said that they're going to lose a lot of their basic kids, their children, over what's coming up. So, guys, I'm warning you that NATO seems to want a war. They seem to be chomping for war. We're going to look a little bit at the relative defenses each side has available, what they might bring to bear, and some of that here. We're going to go into that. But again, here's another article just drilling up on us. NATO considers preemptive strikes on Russia. That suggests in Russia to me. Hours after block scrambles against 4 fighter jets. This seems to be a little bit later article here. NATO is weighing up whether to launch preemptive strikes. So this goes on and on. See, there were 4 fighter jets from Russia spotted near the border with Poland. That's not in Poland. These jets flew toward Russia's western border with Poland and Germany, placing their air defenses on high alert. You see how this can escalate? NATO is really talking some smack now. So, yeah, there's just several articles on this cooking up, my friends. Several. And of course, Russia has already snapped back and had something to say about it, even though it's not quite as aggressive as what we just heard there. Good to see a lot of people in the house already giving us late hour. Dragon's remarks, according to Maria Saragovsky. You know, she's a spokesperson for Moscow's foreign ministry. So she's in the Russian government, spokesperson. Maria Zarakova, excuse me. We have quoted her before. She said that Dragon's remarks are extremely irresponsible step, indicating the readiness of the alliance to continue to move toward escalation. Well, this kind of stuff is why Russia wanted to go into Ukraine in the first place, because NATO kept closing in on Ukraine, went far beyond what we had promised would happen when the wall fell, far beyond what we told the Russians at the time we would do in terms of encroachment on Russia. So Russia and Putin made it pretty clear that that's what really drove his invasion of Ukraine up front. And we're going to get a little bit into what they may do. Oops, I hate that. But on their side, the United States sees Europe as inconsequential, according to former U.S. Commanding General in Europe. He's telling this to Euro News. And this is U.S. Army European General. This is one that we had in Europe. General Ben Hodges. He says that talking about the continent is slowly waking to the realization, basically, that the United States really sees Europe as inconsequential, except for maybe some business purposes. And I've kind of told you guys that from a long way back here. Europe really doesn't have anything to offer the United States anymore. Nothing substantial. Nothing. Is it really worth us risking getting a nuclear war? There's still an Article 5. Now, Europeans and NATO have been saying they're suddenly realizing they may have to go forward without much support from the United States. There's several articles on that. I'm not going to bring those up tonight because I think this says it, and I want to get through this as quick as I can tonight, so I'm going to skip some things here. So there you go. This is what's cooking. Now, this is what Russia looked like according to a 1916 political map. You can see this was all considered Russia. This was Kiev, yeah, which is in Ukraine. Warsaw, which is in Poland today. Russia had dominance over all this and a lot of influence over Finland back in that day, although Finland's still listed as a country here. What Russia wants, and what Russia's always had and has pushed for since the time of Catherine the Great and Peter the Great, is to extend their defenses to the point where basically they can block everything north and south of the Carpathian Mountains here. This is the Carpathian Mountains. Well, today, this is Poland, and down here is Romania. Over here is Moldova. That's Moldova right about there. So Russia would ideally want to take all this back. Peter Zion, who's one of the world's top, supposedly, geopolitical analysts, claims, he's just claimed the last day or two, that Russia will not stop until they take this back and can plug these gaps where the Europeans can't invade into Russia. Now, that may seem nuts, and it really does, because Russia's losing a lot of manpower. Their demographics are upside down. They're losing people. They got to worry about China to their southwest if they get too embroiled over here in Europe, because China's making a lot of rackets and motions like they want to take Siberia, and that's where Russia's wealth really lies. And China's making a lot of racket about that, renaming towns and doing things. And so China's nobody's friend. No communist country's ever anybody's friend, because they always pick on their friends, their allies. They suck on them. I could go into a whole article about that. And Russia knows this. So maybe Russia would try to stop short of this. But the kind of threats that NATO's making now exemplify why Russia would want to take what they're trying to take. And this includes all of Ukraine in this case. Now, honestly, as they move forward, that means more and more Russian troops will be involved in maintaining order and occupation areas they took, which would be resistant to them. So it makes it harder to fight on the front moving forward. And here's what the oddball thing is. Typically, forces, when you're in the invaded force, you need a 4-to-1 advantage over who you're invading. And NATO still has some consequential forces. So we'll look at that in a minute. So it's kind of hard to see Russia really pushing this forward with the threat they got to their east, excuse me, their southeast with China. I think I said southwest. I meant southeast. So um, there's a lot to be concerned with here for Russia. I really don't know that they can push that or would want to push that. Let's hope they wouldn't. But I'm not in the head of Vladimir Putin and his people. But why has he been throwing all these drones? Why have they been harassing Europe when they've had their hands full with Ukraine? That don't make any sense either, unless they just want to take Estonia or something like that. Moldova, yeah, the further they can get their forces out, they got Transnistria around Moldova, which favors Russia. There's definitely Transnistria is a pro-Russian separatist region of Moldova. Before we go into the numbers of what the European forces are and talk about Venezuela briefly, some economic news. Gold has been shooting up. Silver has been shooting up, especially silver. It's probably been outperforming gold. Silver price climbs a fresh high on supply fears. And let's see, there's a guy that's made a real big quote in here somewhere. We're going to look at that in a minute. Where is it? I think I had it highlighted. Maybe not. The London vault is under pressure because they actually tried to short silver, and now they can't make up for, here it is, what they've come short. So silver's up over $57 an ounce. I think it briefly touched $58 an ounce, troy ounce. And there's 12 troy ounces in a pound instead of 16 ounces as our normal ounces go. Why they do that, I don't know. But anyway, according to Clem Chambers, CEO of Online Blockchain PLC. You think being blockchain to be more bullish on Bitcoin, but Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies aren't doing well right now. Stock market's not doing right now. You can put your money in Bitcoin or stock market, but the stock market is overinflated due to AI. The thoughts that AI is going to make so much money, which I don't see it. AI is going to be there for the government. And there's a whole nother thing that we could do a video on, is how the Palantir is getting tied up into things, and it's not, in my humble opinion, a good thing. But anyway, according to Clem Chambers, the recent price increase is just noise. He says this isn't the real squeeze. Silver is going to go a lot higher. And that's according to him. This is not me talking. He says $95 is where I sell. So he thinks this probably might be close to the top. So when he gets to $95, this guy's going to sell. He says, people think it is the big move. It's not. The real move is still coming. And that goes back to, issues with the London vault, manufacturing shortages. Apparently, there's just a lot of shortages with respect to the supply deficits are real. And of course, the dollar is not doing all that great right now, as we all know. And there was another article I'm not pulling it up talking about how the yuan is now, Chinese yuan or whatever you call it, yuan is at record highs. So this is one reason you might want to consider going over here. Now look, there's the price of gold. Remember when I first started talking this? What was gold? $1,500 a troy ounce, and silver was like 23. Remember that? I bet you wish you could have stocked up a bunch then. But anyway, if you go to defythegrid.com, they can sell you silver, coins, rounds, gold, coins, rounds, bullion. They got the bars. You can buy bars. Gold you can hold. But this is what I like. They make this guarantee that nobody else does, that if you find a better price somewhere else, call them and they'll meet it or beat it. How do you beat that? And they've also got these foldable versions you can put in your wallet called gold backs and silver notes. And like I said, these are fungible amounts of gold. This one's 1/1000th of a troy ounce of gold. You can stick it in your wallet, and you could use it to barter for everyday things like eggs and bread. And you got a gold bar, that's like an automobile, a chunk of a house. So, guys, seriously, This is about shaving it off. Everybody don't have scales with them, but this is already denominated in what it is. And they're collectibles. They're not just the gold. They're valuable because they're printed individualistically. They're artistic. We got the Arizona one out now. I need to get me some of those Arizona ones before it gets too high. All right. So yeah, if you come over here to defythegrid.com, they make their promise for cheap prices because they only operate on 3 to 4% margin. But if you use discount code Green Gregs, they'll give you 1% off. And that beats a stick in the eye, okay? If you're interested in how you going to find a better deal anywhere else, because they already made the promise if you can find a better deal, they'll meet it or beat it. All right, my friends, this is what NATO forces, sans American forces, have available to them. This is the forces of the various 10 top NATO nations. What, there's 32 of them or something like that. But anyway, this is the top 10. Yeah, there's 31. There's another 21. But anyway, without the United States, Turkey has got the largest forces. Now, we don't know what Turkey's going to do because Erdogan is his own man. We don't know if he will back NATO if they get into it with Russia. He may pull out. Who knows what he's going to do? France is the next in line. This is active personnel, by the way. Now, the reserves can be substantial in some of these countries. And you can bet if they get into a war over there in Europe with Russia, the reserves will come to play. France has 203,000. But France, when they were talking conscription, they were telling their people that they wouldn't see boots outside of France. Now, is that true? If so, maybe that's just for the conscripts, the draftees. I don't know. I don't know. But that would take, if that's true, it takes these off the plate. So you got maybe a 500,000 here that may be taken off the plate. So what does actually NATO bring to force without American forces? Well, about 209 million active personnel. With the United States in play, it would be 3.42 million. But the United States is not involved, it'll be over 2 million. But if you take 500,000 off the plate right here, that's about 1.5 million active troops. We don't know. Germany, 181. Now, Poland has been claiming they're going to build the biggest military in Europe. They haven't got there yet. They still haven't passed Italy, United Kingdom, in terms of active. Now, they got a big reserve force in Poland. That may be the big down. We're going to look at that in a second. Big reserve force. But Turkey has got a huge military, for that area. Turkey has got Navy, Air Force, and of course, we've got our nukes that we keep in Turkey. They're still ours, but they're there in Turkey. We got nukes in Germany and the Netherlands. But anyway, so you can see the Netherlands just got a pitiful little 41,000. United Kingdom is down here with 148,000. So you can see there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down the list. And a lot of that is Navy. What they're probably using mostly against Russia is ground forces, because it would be mainly a ground invasion, kind of like World War II in Europe. So if we want to look at it country by country, this is Poland. Poland has, like I said, over 100,000 active personnel, but 350,000 reserves. Now, reserves may not be quite as well trained as the actives, but you can bet if they get into war, these would be pulled in. Giving them something like 450,000 troops available. Romania would be perhaps on the front line because they're at the bottom of the Carpathian Mountains. So I wanted to pull them up. Their active forces are not all that much to be bragged about. 90,000. Their reserve forces are on the order of 55,000. So you could see maybe 150,000 troops coming from Romania. So if you look at Poland and Romania together, they might be able to together mass up, 100,000, 1 million troops between them if they pull in all the reserves. So this is, hang on, this is the German armed forces, the Bundeswehr, how they say it. Now they have a huge reserve. This is where the reserves really come in big, whereas their active duty, total active duty is on order 182,496 as of 30 April 2025. So they got somewhere a little over 182,000 active, which is a fair force. But Germany has 860,000 in reserve. That's huge. So Germany could put forward, almost a million man army, almost in force. So theoretically, Germany could, with reserves, throw out a million man force. So if you look at the Russian Federation, now this is what's really tough. It was hard to find. They've got active uh, active army of 500,000, half a million, to include 100,000 conscripts. So most of theirs are not drafted. You might think when you hear the news all the time, most of the troops are drafted. No. Now, they could probably increase their draft, and probably would. Putin's talked about doubling this number. But you can see they're spread out. Russians still got to maintain their empire. They're spread out. Well, that's some past engagements, excuse me. But they have a big empire to maintain in Russia, including kind of keep an eye on China, but they're not doing such a good job with that right now, and they run the risk of losing China. Now, if you look at this, though, and by comparison, Ukraine's got a huge military. Ukrainian military, active personnel is 900,000, reserves 400,000. That's almost 5 million troops. How in the world does 5 million troops get pushed back by 500,000 from Russia? Well, that's what's happening. How's the rest of Europe can't match this? The rest of Europe cannot match those kind of numbers unless they can bring in a lot more reserves. And you bet these reserves are engaged right now. So how is now Europe has got good arms, no doubt, and it's more territory for Russia to invade. Logistics lines gets longer than hitting against Ukraine. Can Russia do it? Would they do it? Or is Europe really afraid of this? Well, they act like it, but are they really? Good question, guys. A really good question is what is about to go down. At some point, one side or the other, if they think they can't dominate the battlefield or if they're about to be overran, may go nuclear. It may go nuclear. Oh, yeah, by the way, we just had another big missile test explode in Russia. Another Sarmat 2, the Satan 2 missile has blown up in a test launch. So, in addition to the one I mentioned to you guys the other day. So, Russia's having a little bit of trouble with their missile forces, apparently. Might be good news for the West. I don't know. Might be. So, if you just look at the Brits, like I said, here this says they have 136,117 regular forces and reserves, only 31,000. The reserves are pretty pitiful in Great Britain for some reason, but it's a volunteer reserve. They may go into conscription if they think they're going to get a war, but can they move fast enough if it goes down fast? So what in the world is NATO talking about? Why in the world are they poking the bear? Maybe they think they can pull it off. Why else would they do it? Especially if they think the United States isn't behind them. But they may be able to, Article 5, they may pull us into it. How deep does Article 5 commit us? It's supposed to be like, attack on one's an attack on all or any. So what does that really mean? And will Trump renegotiate that or pull out of NATO? Some of us have been saying for a long time that we need to pull out of NATO because we're about to get pulled into something because it's the Europeans over there are the ones in NATO that are saying that they would put up a preemptive strike. Now, here's the problem with talking preemptive strike language. Putin has had a philosophy. He's made no bones about it. He said this personally. He said that, hey, if you think somebody's going to hit you, you hit them first. So somebody is using loose language about preemptive strikes. You wouldn't want to be saying that unless it's a bluff, but really and truly it's a dangerous bluff. You wouldn't want to be saying that when your opposition talks about doing preemptive strike. What kind of strikes? There's too much ambiguity in this. Way too much ambiguity. What kind of strikes are they talking about? What kind of strikes is NATO talking about? What would Russia be concerned about? And would Russia really, as Peter Zahn said, try to keep pushing until they basically reinstated the Russian Empire? I really don't think they can. And I think Russia ought to know better. but I'm not in Putin's head. And the guys over in NATO seem like they want a war. I've been saying it for a while, and they're really acting more and more like it. You could expect to see a false flag may go down at any day over there. A false flag, maybe from either side. I don't know. But with NATO talking about preemptive strikes, Russia's trigger fingers are probably getting itchy now. Either that or they're getting scared. We'll see if they continue to probe. Then we'll know. Then we'll see what Europe does and how they actually react. There could be a lot of gamesmanship in this. There probably is. But this is a dangerous brinkmanship type of gamemanship from both sides, where you're probing with your fighter jets and your drones, and then you got the other side talking about preemptive strikes. It's getting really reckless, really reckless. People are forgetting what escalation means and what nuclear war means. Maybe they think they wouldn't use them. Some people are saying that. That's playing Russian roulette with the Russians. Would you bank on it? Would you bank on it? How much would you bank on that? I wouldn't put much in the bank in that department, my friends. Anyway, and of course, things are cooking with Venezuela. Trump, I'm not going to cover all the war fronts today. There's a lot of news with China and Japan and things over there. I'm going to save that. But hey, look, Trump summons military leaders to White House to discuss Venezuela as U.S. Increases presence in the region. We're still wrapping up our forces there. But on the other side, Trump's taking the last responsible steps before ousting Maduro in a Panama 2.0, according to Florida Rep Maria, how you say it? Maria Elvira. Hey, Elvira. We got Elvira in our chat room tonight. Who am I referring to as Elvira? Does anybody remember? She's in our chat room. Salazar. Maria Elvira Salazar, Republican from Florida. This is what she says. But, she probably has an inside scoop, man. She's saying Trump told Maduro it's time for you to go. So, maybe they're doing this just so that what we can do later will look legit. Hey, we gave him every chance. We warned him. We told him we gave him every chance. Step down, leave, get out. We gave you a back door to go into Turkey. You don't want to take it, which apparently he didn't take up on the deal when Trump called him, but Trump is giving him time. In fact, they really are seemingly giving time. That's not a bluff, because the USS Gerald Ford just went to St. Thomas on the 1st of December for R&R, rest and relaxation. Hey, give the troops a little fun before they go bang, bang, bang. So that means that we are probably waiting a little bit, but how long is that R&R going to last? Was it just a one-day deal? The first is over. Are they still up there for R&R? Is it going to be 2 days, like a weekend, 3 or 4? Or are they steaming back down already? I don't know. A nuclear aircraft carrier steaming. That's kind of a funny expression, but we typically use that when we're talking naval ships moving. But it's definitely not steam power. So yeah, they got to have a little R&R. It might be a good thing. Blow off a little steam before things get crazy. Anywho, that's enough for war talk. We're going to cover 2 other things, and then we're going to zip it up tonight. Earthquakes. We got this 5.1 Ataka, how do you say that, in Alaska. We look back here a little bit. We got a big one over here, 5.1 in the Solomon Islands. Solomon Islands were islands that we liberated from Japan, part of them, which used to be part of the United States system, that China has made some really strong inroads into recently, which is not good for us. Oh, look over here in Peru, 5.0. And Yapasis, I don't know how you say it, Peru. We got one on the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, 5.2. But look, these aren't ginormous. Look at the number of them around the Ring of Fire right now. Quite a bit all around the Ring of Fire. And we got one over here that's like in Texas. Where is this at? Yep. Hermleigh, Texas, 3.3. A bunch of them up here in Alaska. As usual, Alaska gets a lot of earthquakes, 3.1. And Trapper Creek. Hey, we had a person that came in our channel a lot, used to live on Trapper Creek, or still does. Hadn't seen her in the chat in a long time. but she lived on Trapper Creek. Hope she's doing okay. But she used to be a regular in here back when I used to do things earlier, I guess. Look here, Burma or Myanmar, however you want to call it, it's got a 4.9. And there's one up here in Afghanistan. So a lot of stuff going on. But the Ring of Fire is really shaking. Space weather, my friends. These are the sunspots 4292 and 4296. Now, 4292 isn't as, compact as this Carrington. This is the Carrington event per scale. But if you look at both these together compared to the Carrington event sunspots, this is interesting. This is interesting. Are your preps together? What are you going to do if the grid goes down? The Carrington event, was a X45 flare. X45. Could we get one of these? Could we get that out on one of these groups? Or might they coordinate somehow? I don't know. Or do a 1-2 punch on us? Sometimes the 1-2 punch is the worst. As one hits and knocks the magnetic field down, and the other punches through. Yikes. And we had a X-Class X2 flare come off from up here at 4299. X.2 up here. X.2 was right here. Now look at this giant group. Wow. And it's turning toward us. It's turning toward us. Just going to be a matter of days. Right now, fortunately, the auroras, we're not getting too much stuff at the moment, thankfully, but it could crank up, and we got a coronal hole preceding all this mess, which is, throwing out a lot of solar wind, which is not good on our magnetosphere. Bear in mind, my friends, the magnetosphere is down 9% overall since the Carrington event occurred back in 1859. 9% lower. All righty. Well, we had a bunch of near-Earth asteroids here over the past month that come in between the Earth and the Moon. Nothing on here predicted ahead that's coming between the Earth and the Moon, but we're always finding new ones. That's why you see most of the red in the past. And I'm going to have a video over on my Galactic. Well, I'm going to do a video on this channel, actually. I got a video that's going to explain this a little bit more detail. I'm going to upload. I've already uploaded it. I just haven't done all the processing for it. I got another video that we'll do a premiere for tomorrow, probably around 4 Mountain Time, which would be 3 p.m. Central to 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern, and 3 p.m. Pacific time. So I've got a video. I plan to premiere about that time. So keep your eyes on them. That's a long video. It's a little bit over an hour and a quarter. But I talk in that video about civilizational cycles. Let me stop the share now. I talk about civilization cycles. I talk about the ice ages. I talk about meteor strikes, asteroid strikes, comet fragment strikes. And you will see that a lot of people think the Younger Dryas flood was the Noah's flood event. No, there was an event that occurred about 5,000 years ago that has all the hallmarks of what could have created Noah's flood. It created what's called the Burkle crater in the Indian Ocean. We'll be talking about that. And I'm also going to go back and look at the Ice Age world and explain how during that time there could have been, there was ample time and means where there could have been civilizations arise that were maybe even far advanced of us today. We're going to talk about how that could be. This is speculative, but there's a lot of tantalizing circumstantial evidence scattered all over the world that suggests this may have been the case. Not to mention a lot of religions and folklore and things around the world. So, guys, we're going to talk about gamma ray burst. We're going to talk about volcanoes, super volcanoes, and something that's worse than super volcanoes, igneous eruptions, worse than super volcanoes. We're going to cover a lot of ground. That's why it's an hour and a quarter. So you'll want to watch that. Stay ready for that one. That is a video that I worked on for some time. And I just uploaded. I come up with a thumbnail and all the text and things that you got to throw in together for it. I'll do that probably during whatever breaks I get tomorrow from my day job, because I got a big meeting tomorrow. That's why I got to hit the hay. That's why I went through the news fast here. But you want to watch that video. I mean, that could have been like 4 or 5, 6, maybe 10 videos broken up. And I may specialize in some pieces of that. Uh, but and also talk about, hey, you guys need to get ready. You need to prepare, because no civilization, no nation lasts forever. Everything falls eventually. But when it's been punctuated by all these natural events that have occurred over and over and over and over and over and over and over, and are a lot more frequent than people think, then and when you realize how fragile our civilization is, our modern civilization, guys, don't expect that it'll always be like this unless we take some big, major, drastic steps. And I'll be talking about some of those. But on a personal level, you need to get prepared, especially with the prospects of World War III might be around the corner. They're man-made things that I wasn't talking about in that video. World War, bio war, EMP attacks, all those kind of things. I didn't go too much into the susceptibility of our power grid, but I've covered that at great extent on this channel in the past. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go read up on my videos. But I've also got videos that tell you how to survive nuclear war if you're not at ground zero and if you aren't turned into vapor. And in fact, even in the cities that are struck, there will be survivors. Oh yeah, it won't be a pretty picture. In a city is no place that you want to be in a time like that. Trust me on that. So, with that said, we'll look at the chat here real quick. I'm not going to read everything like I typically do, because I got to get up early. I'll just hit a few things. If somebody throws me in a super chat, I'll definitely pay attention to that. And I will check my email to see if anybody's tossed anything in my website. I've not seen that in a while, so I'm beginning to wonder about that. Anyway, nothing in that department tonight, so at least as of yet. All righty, Mag Rising from Alaska, Traveler. Stan the Man, Grenville. Good to see you, Stan. Elton Butterfield, wow, good to see you. Callie Prepper is back. Good to see you. New Days. Hi, Greg, Stan, and everybody in the chat. According to her, Patrick Carlson, KP Heather, Arnold Schmidt, our good buddy, Arnold. So, how many we got in chat? I'm showing 58 on this right now. I'm going to hit the refresh button, see if that's right. I need some thumbs up, guys. The algorithms are not helping. Thank you, New Days, for sharing links. Drone technology developed as a major force multiplier in Ukraine. Definitely that. Definitely that. But, it's a matter of attrition. Ukraine apparently has got a lot more forces than Russia and are still being invaded. That's not the typical Matthew saying. You, how you doing? Prepped and ready. Glad to hear that. Now you're talking. How many others can say you're prepped and ready? Martian time. Yeah. Hey, we got Norway in the house. Very good. Norway's in the house. Yeah, Norway might be hard for Russia to take. They got to go through Finland first, and Finland's got some pretty good defenses. Finland, Sweden, but yeah, I like that Norway was smart enough to stay out of the EU, right? So, but they are in NATO, so Norway, you might get pulled into this. So, I don't know, my friends. This is not a pretty picture. There's a lot of other news I could have covered, but it's late. I don't want to be on here all night because I got to get up in a little bit. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. That's what this video is about, because when you got NATO threatening preemptive strikes, and when you realize that's coupled with the whole notion from Russia that if you think somebody's going to hit you, you hit them first, who's going to preempt who? I'm sure there's a lot of intelligence gathering going on both sides. It's probably really intense right now to figure out what each side is really going to do. And that's a lot of what Russia was doing. We're probing to get more intel, probably. But we're in dangerous grounds. Let's hope and pray that saner heads prevail. I mean, seriously, do some serious hoping and praying in that department, my friends. Hello, Jackie Donaldson. Good to see you. Anyway, guys, prep. If you're not prepping, what are you doing? What are you doing? If you live in a big city, you need to be thinking about getting out. Keep your gas tanks at least half full, at least. Uh, Start buying some spare food. If you can't afford much, just buy a bag of dry beans, a bag of rice. Get what you can. A can of this, a can of that. Just stock up a little bit every week if you have to. But if you can afford to have some significant preps, go for it. You need to get some kibbles to feed your nug. And if kibbles are best served hot, if you know what I mean. For those that are new to my channel, take the word nug and flip it. Your pet nug. Nugs bark. They go bang, bang when they bark. So hopefully y'all know what I'm talking about now. All righty, I think I've said enough. I've beat on this horse. We've talked about it. I just wanted, like I said, bring you guys up the straight and skinny to let you know that Russia and NATO are making some rackets. NATO is threatening preemptive strike if you just joined us on Russia. That is very consequential. And so let's hope and pray, like I said, that saner heads prevail, but I don't see no sane heads running any of the countries in the world today, except maybe Hungary. Yikes, guys. Yikes. We are in a pickle. We're in perilous times. It's looking a lot like the biblical end times, to be quite frank about it. Red dragon and all. So, and you look what's going on in the Mideast. You look what's going on in Europe. You look what's going on in the Far East. Look what's going on right to our south. We are in perilous times. Anyway, I beat on this enough. I've said enough. So with that, how long have we been going here? 41 minutes. Good. Let's knock this thing short here. So with that, I'm going to say thank you for watching. Thank you, mods, for keeping the channel clean, keeping everything straight. Please, like I said, hey, Rodney, how you doing? Good to see you. Oh, there was another report I didn't show, but since Rodney's in the house, there's been a recent report come out that said that maybe the only people that can stand, still be standing after a nuke war are people in Australia and New Zealand. So, Rodney, you might be in the best place. But thank you for joining us. Again, share my videos, please. Go watch the ones. If you haven't watched the nuclear survival videos, go watch those. And stay tuned for my video tomorrow that I will be putting into a premiere so you can have a chat room. To be honest, I cannot trust Hungary, as Orban is a friend of Putin. Yeah, well, you got a point. Anyway, so there's really nobody you can trust. And I've said it before, trust no one. No one. Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolute, and practically all our governments are corrupt. Well, come on down. Oh, I wish I could afford it. Yeah. Anybody eat barbecue roux down there? I don't hear too much about that. Anyway, so my friends, seriously, get centered. There's going to be a lot of strife here in this country. If all this stuff starts going down, sleeper cells may get activated if we get into a big war. So, and whatever the case is, we've got a lot of mayhem going on right now in this country. Keep your eyes wide open, head on a swivel. Stay situationally aware. All these people getting attacked on the bus, especially the young ladies, are people that saw down in that phone, and they're not aware that there's a world around them until it hits them. Literally. Yikes, literally. So that's why I tell you, keep your eyes wide open and head on a swivel, big time. So watch it. So keep out from my meeting in the Outback, eat barbecued roux. Is it good? Is it good? Rodney is a master knifesmith, guys. He makes beautiful knives, very beautiful knives. And he posts a lot of pictures of them up on Facebook. So letters from the ranch north of St. John's. Welcome to oh, you're a neighbor. Hey, letter from the ranch. Yeah, we're real close. We're really close. Very good. We got another neighbor in the house. Very good. Letters from the ranch. Holler at me sometime. Anyway, lock and load. There you go. Nanny, how you doing? How you doing? Well, we're about to wrap this up, my friends. We're wrapping up. So remember, folks, that the weather is the #1 hazard facing every day. Yep, there is a lot of weather right now, a lot of deer, and you got to be careful out driving. There was a van overturned on the road just next to me here, and a young couple, they were a dating couple. One was 30, the other 29. They didn't survive it. And I drove up on it right after the law got there. Sheriff deputies just got there, and it was not pretty. It was not pretty, my friends. Especially if you're out here on these old dirt roads, you got to be real careful. Rue is 100% fat free. Well, that's great to know. A lot of your wild animals are like that. I remember my friend Ed Kiker having to add grease to the moose meat he cooked. So that's the case, my friends. That's the case. So, uh, hey, we got Frank MT5 FO. Learn Gnostic behaviors. It's the only way to detach them, or you'll have one in your group. Uh-oh. All right, my friends. Hey, thank you, mods, for keeping the chat room clean, and New Days for sharing the links. I want to thank everybody for watching. Like I said, hit the thumbs up, comment below. I need some steps taken to help the algorithms because my videos have been really squashed over here lately. So help me out, guys, because this channel is suffering right now. So do anything you can to help the algorithms. That said, I need to get out. I got to get up early, and I got a couple more things to do this video before I'm done. So it takes me a little bit to get everything done. It usually takes me an hour after I finish a video before I actually get in bed. So you don't know how. Uh-oh. Wow. All righty, Rodney, we're curious, especially about barbecue Roo. All righty, everyone. So, to one and all, a good night, good day, wherever you are. Ho, ho, ho. I'm in red tonight.